Hello everyone, my name is Hannah Harris, and in this video you will see 4 separate interviews of 4 separate African American single mothers. I've been tasked to interview 4 African Americans, but I chose single mothers because I feel that they're the most affected in the African American community and communities in general by the social problems such as teenage pregnancy, violence, and I wanted to hear their opinion specifically on the nuclear family in the African American community and marriage and what their idea of love is in general. Each interview is about 15 minutes long, some are longer, some are a bit shorter. I've asked them each a series of 5 questions pertaining to social problems within the African American community, such as marriage and family, etc. And in this interview, you will simply see their answers to these questions and how they feel and their opinions, and what they feel can be done to reverse the changes or reverse the problems at hand. Hope you enjoy, and I hope you learned something. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lorraine Day. I am a single mother of 3, 1 college, 1 high school, and 1 middle school.
Okay, my name is Tamika Harris, and I am a single mother of 1 son.
Hi, I'm Yolanda Watson, and I'm a single mother of 3 beautiful kids.
My name is Joyce Beasley. I'm a single mother of 1.
Okay, thank you.
Love is love is a verb. It's more of action word. People.
My idea of love is caring for someone, having deep emotion for them.
I think love, okay, as a 43-year-old woman, I think that love is a choice.
Love is unconditional. Love is support, loyalty, trust. Somebody you can lean on in times of distress. Somebody you can celebrate with in times of happiness. Love is a lot, but love is all things positive.
It's where you can feel safe, that the other person can show you that you're safe, that you can be your honest self, like who you truly are, and the person accepts you just as that. I don't think love means the same to everybody. What I feel is love. Somebody else might not feel it that way. I think love is something that has been shown to you by like what you see your parents exhibit. So if they exhibit a harsh love, if they're very kind and gentle, that. So for me, love is more of what you show me versus what you do.
And I think that when you're in a committed relationship with a person, sometimes you have to make that choice over and over again. There's many layers or aspects to love. I think initially there's that, the part of love where, like, you're just excited and you have the butterflies and everything is great, and that wears off very quickly.
Yeah.
And then it's more about companionship and trust and respect and compromise and understanding. And I feel like only God has that agape love where he can love us no matter what we say or do, or how many times he hurt or fail him. So that's my idea.
To be to count on if times get rough, as far as emotionally, physically, anything like that. Someone that also can be love is also finding your soulmate or your one true love. I think that's all I can think of right now.
Okay, so to add on to that, what do you think, like, let's say you do find your true love or your soulmate, what do you think will make that last so that there will be more successful marriages across the country? Like, what do you think, what's the basis for a successful marriage for you?
For me, I would say being consistent, consistency, having communication, and being honest with each other. And to have each other's back.
Last, love as you define it, what do you think will make it last so that there will be successful marriages, successful or stable marriages across the country?
I don't know if there's an answer for that. I think that both parties have to be willing. I think that both parties have to agree. Sorry, I'm losing my ears. I think both parties have to agree to what their definition of love is amongst them in their unique situation, and they have to both be willing to cultivate that. If one party, if it's a one-sided effort, it doesn't work. If it's dual effort in opposite directions, it doesn't work. So they have to be willing to both cultivate the things that are necessary to grow that love and to be strong enough to
I think at this stage, our country or society is in, most people, I feel like, are engaging in some cohabitation. The number of marriages that fail is fairly high in our country, so there are plenty of single parents out there. I would say that I feel like there are still certain communities that don't think that way of living is correct or appropriate. But I feel like the massive part of our society at this point is sort of accepting it for what it is.
Sometimes cohabitating with someone, it works, and then sometimes it don't. But it's always good to get to know the person before you try to cohabitate with them, even if marriage might not be the immediate thing that the couple want. But being able to live with each other can determine a lot. If you're going to be able to deal with this person for the rest of your life, they might have little quirks or something that you might not like. You might have quirks that they might not like, but living together after being together for a while, it can to me, I feel it can make and break a relationship. So I think cohabitating is actually a good thing to do before someone decides to get married, and then after they get married, then they decide to move in. Like, you didn't know nothing about them until you marry them. So I think cohabitation should be the first thing, and then marriage should be next.
Cohabitation, I feel like, but I think it's personal preference depending on what the person's values are. If cohabitation is not something I want to impress upon my children, then I don't want to display that in front of them. So I wouldn't tell them it's okay to quote unquote Section 8. And, and tell them it's not okay. Well, I don't want you doing this, but that's the last thing at home. So I would personally. But some people don't have a problem with that. Some people foundation or system don't have a problem with that. So they can it's not considered, it's not frowned upon. So it's a natural thing for them. But for me, sexual habitation, if I'm in a marriage, it's supposed to be long term. So I said that for years. So if my children are personally today, the person is part of their lives, fine. But cohabitation, it may not be a long term relationship. You got people in and out of the store in their lives, and that's not fair to in my opinion.
Okay.
That said, the role that it plays, I feel like instability is a big part of it. Even having been married and divorced, there were moments of turbulence and instability, and it definitely affects children. Children have to have an outlet, whatever it may be. Some of them resort to violence, some of them resort to games or love. They feel like they can do it at home. Some of them resort to drugs. I mean, they do all kinds of things. So I feel like them not having a stable situation at home, them not having a stable situation at home would definitely play a part in the things that they do and how they react in situations of stress or how they respond to anger or all those things.
I think marriage is more of a religious issue, or not so much issue, but that's based on your belief system. I feel like people have to do what is best for them in their situation. I know people that get married and want to get divorced by the end of the wedding ceremony.
Yeah.
So I think marriage only works for certain people. I know people that were in relationships for a very long time and got married and broke up like within a year.
Yeah.
So I just feel like do what's best for you as far as the cohabitation. If it works, do it.
Right.
You have an easier path to walk away. As far as like the violence, most people, I would say, in my own opinion, if my community is Black people, then usually it's the community that you live in are the people that you interact with the most. Those are the people that you're going to have that violence towards. So it's not just a Black community. You got white people that live in white communities. If that's who they see, then that's who they have the violence against. Asians, all communities have violence based on race to race. But I feel like ours is magnified more than others because socially, economically, society wants to continue to make us look bad. Not that we aren't contributing to us looking bad, but and the entertainment industries are geared towards rewarding people that make us look bad. So that's what's being fed, and as a parent, if I don't show my kids something outside of the social norm, then that's what they're gonna always think is the norm.
Right.
As far as teen pregnancies, I'm 46. That was going on when I was growing up, and it was funny to me because it was the kids who were like the super smart kids that was the ones getting pregnant.
Yeah.
When I was in school.
Yeah.
Like they had so much books that had no other kind of needs, no
Right.
nothing to relate to or say, okay, even say common sense. But yeah, they didn't have a lot of it wasn't in the book. Nobody
Right.
taught them
Right.
that book. And then they was kinda like, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
I don't know that I think that cohabitation is the reason for a rise in teenage pregnancy or violence. I feel like if a child is growing up in a loving home with two parents, I'm not sure that a piece of paper really matters. I'll say, being able to walk away from a relationship is definitely easier when you are just cohabitating and you don't have a marriage, because while that piece of paper is what links those two people, dissolving a marriage takes a lot. And it can be very stressful. So, but I just think that it's a different way for people to live. I will say that for some people, not, a kid that doesn't live in a home with two parents, sometimes because of the hardships that puts on a parent, a kid could potentially be exposed to, the wrong kinds of friends, or getting in the wrong group of people. And I've known some single moms, who have had to work, 2 and 3 jobs, and so she's not home, and so she's not always there to be able to monitor. I'm blessed enough where that's not necessarily my situation, but I am aware that that does happen in society, and it does affect the kids in some ways when parents have to work really hard and there's no one around, or there's no one there, and then they fall under the influences of sometimes negative peers or even older adults who may be engaging in some negative things.
Yeah.
I think that has more of an effect than, say, just cohabiting.
Like you said, it's less to do with cohabitation and single parenthood in general, and it has more to do with, I guess, the effect, like you said, basically what you said, the effect of the situation on the parent and thus the child, because the child can only do so much in the situation. So,
and I know I've heard of or known of kids, who ended up well, this is kind of old to me, so I'm showing my age because I don't know if it even exists over the line anymore. But gangs, for instance, I knew of some kids who joined gangs because they were looking for family, they were looking for community, because their dads weren't around and they wanted, a man to look up to.
Yeah.
And then, the person they picked, didn't necessarily have the right idea. You're going to be part of this family, but we're going to make you fight and jump when you get into this family. It's come on, is that still love? But when, and I think that's the other thing. I think the biggest thing is that parent, even if it's a single parent, instilling in their child the right sort of values and norms. And if that part is lacking, then kids are easily able to fall into some of those misguided ways.
It can tie into it, depending on if the child is in a generational cycle, meaning that they saw their mom being abused, or their father being abused all the time, and then they think that's love. They think that's normal, not normal. Also being being a single parent doesn't. A lot of people say, oh, well, they didn't have their father in their life or their mother in their life. That's why they will show us violence. No, that's not particularly true because there are a lot of single parents out there that children whose children are extremely successful or might not be successful, never been violent. To me, I just think it can be a learned behavior if they're watching someone doing it. And then, with social media and everything, everybody want to do what everybody else is doing. So, to me, being a single parent, it can be an issue or it cannot be. It depends on if the parent is actually taking steps in watching their child develop in their formative years, developmental years, and making sure they don't go down that path. If they see them going down that path, to kind of gear them to the straight path or kind of guide them to not engage in that type of behavior. Teen pregnancy is kind of prominent in our community as African Americans, and also that could be a source because where I'm from, my friends, I'm only 42, and my friends are like 40, 39 with grandkids. So it's like, because they have their children young, so the kids have children young. It's just like, it's a cycle. But if you're able to break that generational cycle, people say it's a curse. It's not a curse, it's a cycle because it can be broken. Like me, for instance, my grandmother was a preteen mom. She had her first child at 12. My mom had her first child at 14. I decided to break that generational cycle. I was like, I'm not having kids while I'm a teenager. I'm until I become an adult, and I didn't have until I was 23, going on 24. Okay. So it's just that takes determination, and really, if there's something that you really want to break, you can actually. You just got to be focused on it, and don't go with what everybody else says. Well, oh, you just like this, you just this person. Be your own self. So.
I think it's gotten worse.
Yeah. I feel like there are more single parents out there now. There's more. The divorce rate, like I said, is pretty high right now, and I think the reason for that is, one, women are just doing better. I mean, at times these days we are the breadwinners. When I was growing up, my dad was the breadwinner. Mm-hmm. That changed over the years for my parents, but I think now women are able to do better, and then because they can do better, when they're in a relationship, they're unhappy and they get out. Right. They don't suffer and stay and deal with a husband who is abusive towards them, or who's cheating on them, right, or who's not a good dad. Now women are like, oh, bye.
Right. The same, because back then, growing up, we didn't have these so-called proclaimed motivational speakers, or these people. We didn't have social media like that to try to influence people. Oh, you got to do this. Oh, you got to do this to be in a successful marriage. Back then, it was just you do what you got to do. Whatever's not working, make it work, or fix it, or whatever the case may be. If it can't be fixed, you got to separate. Now it's more help versus back then. Also, marriage counseling was there, but in our community, for some reason, we just feel that we don't need any type of help outside of what we do. Like, don't nobody need to be in our business or whatever the case may be. So a lot of people don't seek counseling, like the marriage counseling, couples counseling, and stuff like that. But I think that can help tremendously in a situation like that. And see what I want to say. Couples counseling. And also, if people stop, like I said, stop living off of the social media life, like that's not real life. Like, half of those people are not even in a happy situation. They're just doing it for likes or whatever like that. Just be yourself. And there actually are really good self-help, good books out there, or good help out there. You just gotta find it. But like I said, back then also it was more the males were more, I won't say dominant, but it was more males in the household, patriarchs in the household. And now it's less patriotic in patriarch in the household. And now it's the women, like, I could do everything, I'm gonna do everything by myself, I don't need no man, I don't need this, I don't need that. But in reality, we all need someone. We all wasn't put on this earth just by ourselves. Everybody had a pair. It was always a pair. So with that, I just feel that our generation, or this generation now versus my generation, is totally different. Back then we actually took time to make things work. Now it's just like, oh, I'll just go get a divorce. Oh, I'm just gonna take all or half of what he got, or all what she got, or whatever the case. It's not trying to work it out. And also the thing back then was it was a saying called, it's still a saying, it's cheaper to keep her. And people just say no matter what was going on, people still wanted to be in a marriage because they didn't want to let nobody taking half of their money, let nobody paying child support, spousal support. It was always monetary wise, not because it's just not working. So there one comes the cheating, because now I can't be in this relationship. I want to stay in this relationship because I don't want to give up nothing, but then I'm not happy. So then all that comes into play. So that's pretty much what I get from my generation and this generation now, as far as that type of situation.
It is similar to what was going on when I was growing up. I grew up in during my time growing up, I was in a single parent house because my parents got divorced, so they couldn't get along. And those issues stem from military issues. My father was in the service, and the stuff that he experienced while he was in the service is problematic for the relationship between him and my mom. So we grew up, it was me, my brother, and my grandma, my mom's mom. I think there's still a lot of that now, where it's hard to raise a kid totally by yourself.
Yeah.
And society has beat up so much on our black men that I don't think that they really know how to be fathers, because stigmatism of not being able to show emotions and nothing to be strong or whatever kind of person. And then as far as the black mothers, we get separated from the black fathers, so now we start to go. I'm not a man, I can't ever teach a boy how to and I think all of that plays a part in being out. It keeps the cycle going. And until somebody's strong enough to step forward, somebody's strong enough to come out the box and do stuff a different way, which show people
or different way of doing it, you're gonna stay in a perpetual cycle. So I think, and just the attitude I think about divorce is just different. I think, when I was growing up, like I said, I think it was instilled in them, like, you wanted to, make it work and
Right.
make it last. And, in terms of like the church, not that the church is totally against divorce, but it's definitely not like, praised. It's sort of frowned upon. And I feel like in our current society, people don't really care anymore. Like, they're just like, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is
So,
what it
out the door they go.
Right.
I mean, sometimes they don't even try that hard to make it work. It's like it's the first time you're ready to jump and
Right.
run. It's like,
Right.
okay.
Right.
So it's definitely gotten worse.
I agree. My professor, he brought up a point one time. He said that in his culture, because he's Nigerian, so he said when so when he is back home, he said back home, it's like if you get a divorce, it's seen as a sign of weakness on the part of the man, because it shows that you can't provide for your family, or if you can't even keep a wife, you can't really do anything else. So, people, I'm not sure that's the mindset that most people have here, but it's just like I think it has gotten worse, because like Grandma Donna and Granddaddy Pete, they've been married for how long? They've been married.
They've had their struggles. I don't know
Yeah.
if you're aware of that. But like they've had times where they separated and then
Yeah.
they got back together, or they've had a point where they didn't necessarily want to live near each other, and then
Yeah.
they've gotten back together. So like but then I think I guess it depends on what the disputes are about too. Like I don't know in depth what their disputes were about, but maybe it wasn't something where they felt like it was a reason to end.
Yeah.
They were able to, like I said, compromise. They were able to come back together and figure it out and make it work. Because I mean, when I see them, they seem happy.
Right.
They're together. So
Right.
yeah. But see, then I can tell you my parents are different stories. So my mom and my stepdad are still together, but they are not.
Yeah.
It is like miserable. And I'm just like.
Yeah, like sometimes.
Well.
Right. Sometimes people. I know sometimes like marriage, it comes with a lot, because it's like everything is just combined. So it can be hard. It can be easier to stay and be unhappy sometimes, rather than leaving and having to start all the way over with your life, I guess. But
well, you're right, and it literally was starting over. It
Yeah.
was a lot.
yeah, and it's like I think people these days, they don't mind starting over as much, and they also, I feel like they prioritize happiness a little more. Like, not to say that everybody that's married is unhappy, because that's not true, but
Right.
if they aren't happy, people today are just going to do whatever they can to make themselves happy, which I don't blame them for in most circumstances. It depends.
That's a good point. You're right. And I feel like, too, like, say my parents, for instance. I mean, we're talking about 40-some-odd years in.
Right.
You're going to leave after 40?
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
So, young people like me, it was like, I left that.
Right.
I ain't invested all that time. I got out as soon as I was like, no.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah.
Like, you put in 40-something years or something, it is hard to walk away from.
Right. Because it's like at this point,
That's all you know.
Right. Exactly.
No, I think it's a distinct difference, because the marriage culture is not necessarily as prominent as the hookup culture is running rampant. The safety and the I didn't see the wrong in hand is running rampant. Like nobody's looking to be home and be a wife. Nobody's looking to be home and be a husband. Nobody wants to. I'm not saying nobody, but it's not the norm now. It's not common. Everybody wants to see how sexy they can be, how many followers they can have, how much attention they can get, and none of those things are conducive to marriage. So if you're in a marriage and you're doing those things, you're not going to be in a marriage long. If you're single and you're doing those things, you're not going to be in a marriage because nobody's looking for that. So male or female, because both of them do it. So yeah, it's tremendously different. The expectation is different because I think the older generation pushed marriage so much more, so it was more in your face, and it was a more of a moral thing, a belief system thing, a Christian thing. There were a lot of different African American communities, Christianity. That was the foundation, and that foundation has been shaken and shifted. So it's not as prominent, it's not as promoted, it's not as upheld. So there's a difference now in what's acceptable and what's not. And yeah, that definitely plays a part.
Slavery. Let's start with that.
For some reason, I would say not for the teen pregnancy, but the marriage part, monetary. Monetary because over the years we've been faced with like right now we had the COVID pandemic, and we've been in the era, not me personally, been in the era of depression, but there's the era of not depression back in I think the 20s or the 30s or something like that, where that put a lot of strain on marriages because no one could bring income in the house. Can't nobody feed the family, and trying to do what you can do that may be illegal, but you got to do what you have to do to feed your family. It put a lot of strain on people. Even the COVID put a lot of strain on people because they couldn't provide. That one person that was providing like majority of the bills or whatever can't provide now. So now the other half is angry, and now it's like, I can't do this no more. I could do bad by myself. So now there we go the divorces or the separations leading to divorces. Teen pregnancy. The teen pregnancy part, I think that's more of I'll probably say, I won't say morally, but more so I would say a little bit of morals and a little bit of religion, because a lot of people now versus back then are not really into religion now. A lot of people are atheists or different. They're not Christian. There's so many different religions now, and some people, their religion is or have what's called it be fruitful and all this type of stuff. And then you got the other ones that say, oh, you gotta abstain from this, you know.
Right.
So everybody's religion is a little bit different than others, and that can play a part on marriages and play a part with teen pregnancy. The reason I say for marriages because sometimes when people convert, they convert religions. They first start out being Christians, then somebody else, they find another religion, and then it becomes an issue because that person wants you to conform to their new religion and you don't want to, and that's where it clashes. And sometimes that leads to divorce.
I think it's probably some of both. I feel like religion is a broad spectrum because all the foundation for all of them are not the same. But I do believe that all of them give you a moral compass. And in the event that whatever the religion is, if it's not being, if nobody's being taught that, or it's not being shown, or it's being frowned upon all the time, or shunned when people do try to stand up for it or try to push the agenda or what have you, it loses its momentum, and that moral compass gets broken because now the norm is whatever is as far left as you want to make it, and everybody's fighting for everything to just be normalized. So there is no right or wrong. Everything is right, everything is wrong. It depends on who's there. Whereas it used to be, this is right, this is wrong, it's black and white. Now everything is right, and everything is right.
I think it's both.
Yeah.
I really do. I definitely feel like, you know, as a country as a whole, most of us are not guided or led by religious strongholds. And even those of us that are religious are still, you know, not, you know, holding ourselves to those certain standards. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I was actually really surprised when I went to my pastor, and this was after, you know, we had, you know, some marriage counseling with the church, and I was like, I just don't think this is going to work out. And, you know, I was like, oh, you know, God hates divorce and blah, blah, and I was feeling like, you know, a failure. And my pastor looked at me and was like, this is not that bad. And I was like, what? Do we say that? He was like, have you ever told a lie? And I was like, well, yeah. He was like, yeah, that's the thing. He was like, have you ever did this? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, he was like, that's the thing. So he was like, guess what? He said, you will get this divorce, and then you will ask God for forgiveness and keep moving. And I was like, oh.
Okay.
I'm like, and then I felt free. I was
right.
Like, well, now I don't want to.
Right.
But I was like, but my great grandmother, I don't know if you remember her, like she would say, oh no, it was like, once you're married, like that man is tied to you for life. You could never marry again. And I was like,
violence is, let me see. Violence is a moral thing for me. To me, it's a moral thing. Because you know that's not how your parents raised you. Even if you was raised in a single family home, a single parent home, or a two parent home, I'm pretty sure 9 times out of 10 that's not how a parent raised the child to be. Hey, let's go. I want you to beat everybody you see. I want you to shoot everybody you see. I want you to rob everybody you see. I'm pretty sure no parent tells their kids that. You might be surprised, but for the most part, nobody usually tell their kids to go out and do that type of stuff. So that's more of a moral standard. And I don't think religion.
It also doesn't have to be, like, do you believe that it could be something outside of that, such as, like, environmental factors or, like, societal factors? It doesn't just have to be morals and religion.
Societal factors is a heavy influence on people. Especially, you know, you see people, say for instance, it's the celebrities. Celebrities, they got this money so they can do this, they can do that. Then you have people that want to be like the celebrity.
Right.
Because that's their idol or whatever. So now they want to do whatever they can to be like them, no matter what, have to get it by any means necessary.
Right.
Which, sometimes is not the legal way.
Right.
You know, or, you know, it's not the morally right way to obtain money to get what you want. So society has always played a part, but it plays more of a part now versus back then. It really plays a part now because it's like everybody, like I said before earlier, some people are easily influenced by what they see on TV.
Yeah.
The fantasy life.
Yeah.
So
I think COVID aided in that because people stopped going to church a lot because they couldn't anymore. And then we were inside for like 2 years, and then we were just scrolling and just seeing all these new things on social media and stuff. I think social media plays a big part in it. And yeah. And I mean, people just see a lot of stuff on social media and they just assume that that's the way they're supposed to live. But I think that, I'm not sure how I feel. I'm not sure if I believe that social media, no, I take that back. I believe that social media is both changing people's morals, but it's also just showing how people have been feeling this whole time. It's just giving us more access to what people have, their thought process, and how they've been thinking like all this time. Because I know most of this stuff, it isn't new. It's just like we can see it every day. So, and I think that also like accelerated why people are getting divorced so often, or why people are walking away from relationships and stuff like that. or like single parenthood, because it's like social media is telling us like if you don't have to, because most people just listen to their parents and listen to people around them. So if you grow up hearing like don't get divorced, then you won't get divorced. But if you go on social media, you go on Instagram, you go on Facebook, and you see these life coaches or all these motivational people talking to you and saying like, oh yeah, if you're not happy in it, you don't have to do it. Like you don't have to do anything you're not happy with or anything of that nature. People are like, oh okay, well I didn't realize I could just walk away, and so now I'm just walking away.
Told our men that they were only worth producing, whether it was putting seed in the ground and producing, mass producing, or producing a seed within a woman, and they were not allowed to have that emotional bond with that woman or with that child. That was passed down from all those generations. How many mothers had to part with their kids because we were sold off like cattle? We were just another piece of property, which could be bought and sold or killed at any given time. There was no way to have that emotional bond and be safe. Slaves weren't allowed to get married like that. So, and I feel like I'm a Christian, but Christianity has been bought and sold to the highest bidder and perpetuated to enslave people in their minds for generations and generations and generations, because it's open to interpretation.
Right.
And there are some very contradictory things in the Bible. So people like to pick and choose what they want to base their own immoral beliefs on when it comes to the Bible. Oh, I believe in slavery, and the Bible talks about being a slave. Yeah, it does talk about being a slave. And it also said that God freed the slaves. But y'all conveniently leave that out of your, what you want to make your reality. So, in my opinion, the lack of religion is not totally a lack of religion. It's a lack of Christian belief, which in America it's used to serve white men. White men only want power for themselves, not for their woman, not for anybody else.
Right.
Only white men.
Right.
So people get this misconception that the United States was built on Christian values. It was not founded for Christian values. It was founded for religious freedom. But Christians like to throw their values down everybody's throat.
Right.
So, and I feel like that's where, my opinion, that's where the heart of the problem lies. And society seems to like what's quote unquote normal, but who classifies normal? What we doing right now could be normal, like not being married, having kids, like So we all have to answer to a higher purpose. We're going based on a book somebody, another human wrote.
Right.
They wrote their version of what they wanted us to know.
Exactly.
And it was, King James was not a very, he was, interesting,
right,
to say the least. Right. So, this is how I feel about it. I feel like if people focus more on living in love and in harmony, not just in harmony with other people, but in harmony with earth, with other creations of nature, then we will all be better off. Everybody wants to live their own life, but tell you how to live your life at the same time.
Exactly.
You want to tell me what God gonna send me to hell for? Because I'm gay, but you got 5 kids by 5 different people out of wedlock.
Exactly.
A sin is a sin is a sin.
Exactly. Exactly.
I can see your sin openly because you got 5 kids. You can see mine openly because I appear to be gay. So I mean, like, that makes you better than me because you did what? Because you read a verse in the Bible that said what? Because the same verse is also in here about having kids out of wedlock.
Right.
Supposedly.
Exactly.
And everybody who produced kids weren't married. You had daughters who got their father drunk so that they can have a kid, who weren't married to their father. So yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, when people like to say, well, religion, when it was more religious free, and like religious beliefs in the system, and stuff wasn't so bad. Stuff was always bad.
Stuff has always been bad. Right.
Stuff was always bad. It's just that there's social media now, and there's more ways to see.
So let's learn about it. Right.
How bad stuff is on a constant basis. Stuff was that little kids was getting killed when I was little. Little kids was getting snatched up when I was a little kid. Like, you had people setting bombs in churches, blowing up little kids.
Right.
It's just that now everybody has access to see how much it goes on, how often it goes on.
Right.
School shootings did not just start in the 90s. They were mass shootings in the 70s. It wasn't as common as it is now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that just started in the 90s. I kind of went down a rabbit hole.
I wonder if part of it would be sort of getting back to our, just, or like you said, our morals. And it doesn't, I guess for some people it may not have to be church, but at least those same type.
Right.
Because I think, that part would help us a lot. Just having respect for others and, being more kind and, being thankful. Those types of things would help in terms of trying to make a marriage last. And I feel like a lot of the times in our communities, like, people aren't willing to honor their commitments, or they're so quick to just, like you said, kind of do whatever they want to do, or do what makes them happy, or whatever. And so then that causes the breakdown. But I do unfortunately feel that there's still lots of effects from slavery that's still impacting our people from today. Like, during that time, the family was broken down.
Yeah.
Sometimes they were separated, and some were at this, plantation, and others were somewhere else. Or, we had the slave, master, doing things to women, and, then they're having kids with the master, but nobody knows, but everybody knows.
Right.
It's different. I mean, I feel like that
we, some sort of way, we still have not recovered. And I feel like out of all of the races, you know, even like, you know, Jewish people went through a major, not totally like our situation, but, you know, traumatic situation with, you know, Hitler. Yet, you know, they didn't have to endure some of the things that we have endured for the amount of years that we have endured. And even though you and I are blessed to not have lived in those times where that stuff has happened, it still affects us to this day, sadly enough. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. And I think, like I said, because Black women are perceived differently than Black males, I feel like at times that still is a problem for that nuclear family. You know, that Black male having to fight so many other things in society, and yet, you know, having to learn how to be a husband or a father, especially for those who didn't have, once again, that model in the first place.
Right.
You know, they're trying to make this up based on what they see on TV or how they think should happen. So
That's just the sense of community I have.
Right.
I know I'm different. I'm different than other people. And that's how I choose to be outside of the box. Because I'm not the most affectionate. I'm not going to hug on you all day. I do love on the kids, but I'm not overly affectionate.
Right.
I'm not just like over the top. And I used to whip my kids because that's what I was taught.
Mm-hmm.
And it was effective to a certain point for Lorenzo, for Isaiah. But for Carly, I could whip her and 5 seconds later she was doing the same thing. So yeah, I had to come to realize that I need to figure out a different strategy. Like, this ain't working. I'm wearing myself out. I'm just like overly aggressively angry.
Right.
Because what I was taught and what I passed down over the other 2 kids worked. Like, I could say I'm gonna push your butt and get at the end of it. No, with this one, she was, you got to show me, because I don't believe that this whipping gonna hurt. And then I got a whipping and, it don't hurt for a little while. I'm gonna go do it again. So yeah, that's another, like, this example of, you gotta find out what works for this kid. It's not a blanket statement of how to punish a kid. Lorenzo got 1 seat one time when y'all was at Shepherd. I put him on punishment for 9 weeks.
Dang.
That was effective for Lorenzo.
Yeah.
Isaiah, he's not gonna do his work until he does his work.
Right.
So we have to do better as a society of figuring out how to effectively communicate with children first. Because we have to understand that children are learning, they're sponges, they're learning all the bad stuff just like they're learning all of the good stuff when we're raising them.
Right.
So if all they see all day long is hollering, cussing, fussing, even if it's not holler, cussing, fussing from mom and dad or whoever's raising them, that's what they're watching on TV all day.
Right.
Then that's what they're going to start putting out. Whatever you put in, what you going to get out.
Exactly.
Time and learning to, be healed and then be in relationships with people who are healed, and then, passing that positivity down to our children, I guess, is the only way we could possibly make it better. But I feel like, and that's the other thing, in our community, a lot of us don't want to do the work to be healed, and we do not want to talk about mental health.
Right.
We do not want to see a therapist to help us with So it would be real great if we could normalize people going to therapy.
Absolutely.
I will say this, but it's hard to it's kind of impossible. Try to stick with the family. You know, you have problems. Try to work it out to keep that household, because it's always it is always, to be honest, it is always good to have two parents in a household. Sometimes it just can't be, but trying your best to make it work for the family. Being more involved in what your children are doing, due to like the violence part and stuff like that, and teen pregnancy and stuff. Just being more involved and more engaged with your child and speaking to your child more. And some people get more involved in the community. There are a lot of like community things that people get involved with to try to see a change in the community, or in our particular community, you know. Let me see what else. We just gotta do better. We just gotta do better coming together instead of being so separated. Which we are separated. We're separated by violence, like gangs and stuff like that, and everything. So that's the biggest thing, but I don't think that's going to change no time soon. But if it could, it would be nice.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah.
I think as a people we are, and not saying everybody, but as a people, as a whole, I think we're very competitive. I think there's a lot of crab in the barrel mentality amongst African Americans, and that we tend to pull each other down before we lift each other up. We're not as supportive a lot of times of each other as we should be. I feel like unity among us is key. I think there's a lot of power in the black community, a lot of power amongst African Americans, but we don't come together and corporately do things as other races do. Collectively, I should say, not corporately, but we don't collectively do things as a unit as much as we should or possibly could. How to orchestrate and organize that, I don't know, because it's not all about marching and protesting. It's about, at the core of it, what are we doing differently? And I don't know where it starts, but I know that a lot of other races and communities have figured it out, and they're prospering because of it. And we have not, and we are always on the divide and conquer spectrum. And we stay low on the totem pole because we stay divided